Hello and welcome to another episode by CDBTC. Today is November 30th, 2022. Wow, it's been a while since the last video, but as I said, I'm only making videos when it matters. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Bitcoin cycles and the major question on everybody's mind. Has Bitcoin bottomed? Yes or no? And after this video, you'll be able to come to your own conclusion if we have bottomed or not. What we'll be using today is a series of elements. This is a slide I share with my clients. This is something I shared with them on October 18th, 2022. So this is basically almost 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. And what I was telling them is that we could be getting near the bottom. And if we're near the bottom, it's a great area to begin accumulating Bitcoin and possibly other strong altcoins that could make it into the next bull cycle. So this is from October 18th, 2022. I'm just putting it up here because we're going to look at the new version that I just shared about a week ago with my personal clients, and we'll see how this has evolved. How the things that I highlighted here are still valid. This is the new version, November 21, 2022. It's basically 9 days old. And what can we see in this chart? You can pause and go back and forth so that you can compare versus the previous one. But what are we looking for? In general, we can see that Bitcoin has been in an uptrend since 2010. Overall direction of the Bitcoin price has been up. Of course, it moves not in a straight line. It comes in waves. We have our wave up and down, up, down. And these have been repeating over and over, creating what we call Bitcoin cycle. One thing that is very, very important here is that each cycle is marked by two very, very visible moments, what we call tops and what we call bottom. Tops and bottoms. Top and a possible bottom forming over here. Each cycle is comprised of 4 elements. We have our markup, our distribution, which is also the top, markdown, and the accumulation phase, which is usually the bottom. We have a markup, distribution phase, which is the top, markdown, accumulation, which is the bottom. And right now, we had our markup, we had our distribution phase, we're having our markdown, and we're looking for the bottom. What clues can we find, or what clues can point us in the right direction to understanding if we are getting near the bottom? Well, we have to look back at history. In business, we look at past performance to give us an indication of what our future performance could be. It's not always perfect, but it helps us prepare. For example, if you're in the food business or the beverage business, you know that there are moments during the year where your sales are going to increase because of the celebrations going on. So near the 4th of July, you're going to have a peak in sales. So you have to ramp up your production to prepare for that. Also near the end of the year for holidays, you have to prepare for that. So you're going to have to ramp up your production beforehand. And you do that by using models that forecast the future, but also you use historic information to kind of relate what's going to happen in the future. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to take the past information of past Bitcoin cycles and try to translate it into this cycle that we're currently in. First thing we're going to look at from the top to bottom in this cycle, in the 2014 top, it took 396 days for Bitcoin to move from the top to the bottom. In the next cycle, the 2017 cycle, it took Bitcoin 365 days to move from top to bottom. Basically, that's close to a year, a little bit over a year. If we try to say, okay, so let's use those numbers from this top, this cycle top, and see where that leads us. So if we count 395 days from our May top, it takes us into this area. Okay, so this is around June, July 2022. If some of you are gonna say, but the top was in November at 69,000. Okay, so if we count from that, let's also use the same math. So let's take the other bar, 365 days for ease. And if we do that, it takes us into about January 2023. Okay, we could do this. We could use the 396 days from here, so that would give us a little bit more space up until February. But in general, we're going to start to graph this area, the one in the green rectangle. Okay, so it goes from a kind of June, July 2022 until January, February 2023. Okay, so that's just taking time from top to bottoms in past cycles. Okay, let's do another analysis. We know Bitcoin has halvings. They're programmed into the Bitcoin blockchain. So that's something that's not going to change. That's something that's consistent over time. The blocks are produced based on the difficulty of the chain, but in general, we can estimate when each halving is going to take place in the future. And we also know when each halving took place in the past. This is when the first halving happened. It was in November 2012. It's marked by this red vertical line. The next one was in July 2016, and we can see the red line here. The next one was in May 2020, and it's marked over here. And the next halving is programmed on or about April 1st, 2024. So we have this here. We can also say, okay, the bottom happened how much time before the halving? If we do that and we move from the bottom to the halving, it's 547 days in this cycle. It was 486 days in this cycle. So we could either use both numbers. In my case, I decided to use an average. The average of these two numbers is 517 days. And if I take the 517 days, which is the average from the April 24th cycle, it brings us right into the area that we have been looking at using the other methodology. Okay, but if we say it's 547 days, that means that we have to add 30 more days. So it could come in this direction, or it could come in this direction, or if it's 486, we could come in this direction. Okay, so in general, it's still the area between July 2022 and January, February 2023. We are in that area where dollar cost averaging or starting to buy is probably a good investment towards the future. But what about other indicators? Because some of you might say like, okay, yeah, I like the historic information, but not every cycle is going to be the same. Okay, so let's look at other indicators. This is the RSI. I'm not going to explain what the RSI does. You can look that up, but it's super easy to see that whenever the RSI tops, we have our top. This is the top in the RSI for this cycle, and we had the price top for this cycle. And in this cycle, this was the top of the RSI, and it also coincided with our Bitcoin price top. Okay, so this is an indicator that tells us where the tops are, but can it also tell us where the bottoms are? Kind of. Yes. Look, we can see that the Bitcoin bottom was achieved in this phase when the RSI came all the way down and it started to form like a little ball and then started going up. In the second cycle, it also did the same thing. Where are we right now? Well, right now, we were in a clear downtrend. As you can see, we have a line hit 1 point, 2 points, so we could draw the line over here. We came up to the line and it rejected, so this definitely confirms that this was a trend in the RSI, and we finally broke it. And if you go back to the slide, the past slide, you could see that it was barely breaking it, but that's why we started to take a good look at it, and now it's completely broken through. So that means that this trend is probably now broken, which means that we'll probably start to see this behavior in the RSI. So that could also start to indicate that we are getting near the bottoming process. Now let's look at this indicator. We're gonna skip the middle one for now. We're gonna go to the one below, and we're going to see that we have this indicator that basically tells us about the strength of the buyers or the sellers. And we can see how when the Bitcoin price started going up, there was a strong uptrend. There was lots of interest, lots of buyers. We got our first light green candle, which is bar, which is different than what we had, and basically that marked the top. Okay. So we could see that there was a trend that was changing. Then the sellers started taking over. That's what the red bars mean. And we can see that the red bars were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that means more and more sell pressure. And basically we've had, in our last report, we had our first pink bar. So that told us that the selling pressure was beginning to get weak or reduce. And what we have right now in our update 1 month later is basically, even though the price is a little bit lower, the indicator is healthier, because the price pressure, the sell pressure is decreasing. We have a smaller pink bar, so that's good. We're getting a pink bar, but it's also smaller. And this is what happened in the previous cycle. So you can see where we got the top green, dark green from light green, that was the top. And then all the process of the markdown with the sell pressure getting stronger and stronger and stronger, with the red bars getting bigger. And then boom, the first pink bar, and then the pink bars subsequently were getting smaller and smaller. And that was basically at the area where we achieved the bottom. And the same thing over here. We can barely see it, but this is the red, and then first pink bar, and it was in this area near the bottom. Basically, this is telling us that yes, we could be in that bottoming area right now. So we have two indicators that are telling us that this could be the Bitcoin bottom forming for this cycle. But we need a third indicator to confirm that, okay, the bottom is over. This one doesn't tell us that we're in the bottoming process. Basically, this one is going to tell us when the bottom is over, and it's like, okay, we are probably starting the next phase of the bull market, the next bull market. So basically, when these lines, when the blue line crosses over the red line with decision, it basically tells us that the bottom or the accumulation process is over and that we are going to start an uptrend. It doesn't mean like a huge pump, but just an uptrend before the half. We can see that here, and we started an uptrend right before that. We got it here, and we started an uptrend before the halving. This one was quite a strong pump. People got overexcited. I don't know how it's gonna play this cycle. In my personal opinion, I prefer this type of movement rather than this one, because after we got this one, we had a little bit of suffering over here. Well, this one is a little bit more slow accumulation, more price buildup that leads up to a more powerful push up. And right now we can see that the lines are basically going flat like they did during this period of time, and here during this period of time, and we're also doing it over here. So what we're going to be looking for is when this signal triggers, basically that would be saying, okay, we're starting our markup phase. Okay, yes, we have a lot of things on this chart, but it's very, very powerful. At the same time, I think it's as simple as it can be. Oh, something else, and something that's different than the slide in the previous month is this. Look, every cycle has an uptrend. When we break this trend line, the price pushes down, and that forms the bottom. You can see that in this one, this is the trend line, and then when price broke it, it pushed down, and then we had the bottom. We have this trend line for this cycle. When it broke it, price pushed down, and we had the bottom. And in this one, we had our trend line. But what was weird is that we were kind of holding it. We hadn't had that push down yet. And now we've had that push down. This is another signal that's just aligned to the previous cycles. That just makes me even more confident that the bottom is very, very near. What we have here is our Bitcoin Bull Run Index. This is basically a chart that tracks confidence in the market. And we're not going to get into how it's calculated, but we're going to see what it tells us. It's super easy to see. Okay. So basically, when we have our price tops, this indicator is at its all-time high for each cycle. So you can see the halvings are over here, so they're still here. So this is a cycle, and cycle. So during this cycle, the tops were the areas where the Bitcoin price reached the highest point in the cycle. This is the place where you should have been selling your Bitcoin, distributing to the other latecomer. And as we move and the price moves down, you can see that this indicator basically falls, just falls close to zero. And this is the area when this indicator is here, you should be buying Bitcoin. You could not have estimated the price at which you would have been buying Bitcoin. But if you had bought when this indicator was down here, all the way down here, if you had accumulated Bitcoin during this period, you would have basically bought Bitcoin at its lowest point for the next cycle. What we do is we use this indicator to tell us when it's the best moment to sell your Bitcoin and when it's the best moment to buy your Bitcoin. Okay, let's look at the next cycle. The indicator went back through the roof. It went to 100, and look at the price. Basically, at that point was the best time to sell your Bitcoin. You would not have gotten a better place to sell your Bitcoin. Obviously, this is also the worst place to buy Bitcoin if you're coming into the cycle. But this is where a lot of people end up buying, because this is when Bitcoin is all over the news. Everybody's telling you to buy Bitcoin. Everybody, your cab driver, the person who polishes your shoes, everybody around you is talking about Bitcoin. This is the worst place to buy. This is when we are selling. The people who bought before start selling and start distributing to the people who are FOMOing in late. Okay, let's continue. When was the next best place to buy Bitcoin? When the indicator was down here and you would have gotten the best prices in Bitcoin for the next cycle. So you would have been able to buy Bitcoin between $3,200 and $4,000 if you had bought during this time. But what also is happening during this time? Well, on the news, on the newspapers, the TV, you're getting super bad news. You're getting news about Bitcoin exchanges going broke, going bust, taking people's funds. You're getting news about how Bitcoin is a failed project, how it was just a bubble and it's going to crash and come to zero. You're going to see a lot of experts, between commas, talking about how they were right before Bitcoin, because they've been saying since 2010, 2012, 2015 that it's a bubble. Yes, and they have been wrong all this time, and they're getting their little bit of a day in the sun right here. But what happens next? We have our next cycle. The halving comes and we have our next cycle. When was the best time to sell here? Well, basically when the indicator came to the top. So basically above 80, you should start selling your Bitcoin, because like in this case, we didn't get over 100. I think this was kind of impacted by this crash before COVID, because the price was coming up nicely, but COVID took a lot of the wind out of it, and we had to start from a lower place, which had not happened in prior cycles. We had not had that black swan event, but whatever. Sell above 80% and you would have done very great. And as in the previous cycles, buying at this point was the worst moment to buy Bitcoin. But a lot of people did. I know that for a fact. I know a lot of people contacted me around November. It was even in this phase, so this indicator was already going down, and I told them, no, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to wait for the next bull phase, and don't be afraid when the time comes. And they told me, well, let us know when the time comes, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm letting them know that this is the correct time to start nibbling in, okay? And where's the indicator right now? Well, it's basically getting close to zero, okay? So it's close to the 2015 cycle. It's a little bit below these areas. It's even below the 2019 cycle. So yes, this is a great area to DCA in. Is it the bottom? If you buy Bitcoin today at $16,800, is it gonna be the bottom? I cannot promise you that. But when we look back, when we're 2 years in the future and we look back at this, you will probably see that this would have been an excellent area to average in. And this past cycle, which is the one that I really lived through, I wasn't in crypto in this time, the Bitcoin price came down to $3,200. Everybody kept expecting lower. Everyone was waiting to buy at 2,400, at 1,800, at 1,200. Everybody said we were gonna go lower, and we never did. And this was a great area between $3,200 and $4,800, even $5,000. This was an amazing area to accumulate. You would have done great buying in this area. Sure, you could have bought at 4,000 and then it came down to 3,200, and you would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm losing money. But it would have been basically a 3 or 4 months hold. And this is what we're getting over here. A great opportunity to buy in. You would have looked like a genius buying here. You would have looked like a genius buying here. So what makes you think that you're not gonna look like a genius in the future by buying here? I don't know. I go by the probabilities, and the past performance is skewed towards making this look like a genius buying. Before we go, I just want to leave you with this. This is the Bitcoin price. Wow, look at this. Bitcoin pumped so hard and it just came down, lost a lot of value. Dead. It's probably dead. What are we gonna do? And I'm just gonna move this and you can see for yourself what happened. Wow, this cycle just got flattened. Basically the history is gone. So it didn't matter if you bought here, 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 here. If you held, you could have sold for higher. And oh look, it just kept going. Oh no, Bitcoin is dying. Look at this. Oof, look at this. This is a huge correction. It's probably dead. Bitcoin is dead. Wait, but the people who bought here, they were lucky. Yeah, they were lucky, and they were able to get out over here. Bitcoin's dead now. Let's laugh at the people who bought Bitcoin. Oh, let's keep going back. Let's keep going forward in time. Oh, what's this? Whoa. It's going up? It wasn't that? Wait, what? Oh my gosh, look at this. Another all-time high. And that thing that looks so terrible, just down here, we can't even see it. And over here, it's just basically a flat line. Oh, but look. Yeah, I told you so. I told you it was gonna go down. Ha ha ha, let's laugh at you because you bought Bitcoin again. Oh boy. Yeah, if you bought the tops in each cycle, it would probably hurt watching go through all of this, but that's why if you listen to my videos, you're gonna know when to buy and when to sell. This is the worst time to buy, this is the time to sell. Best times to buy are down here. But look, this is the best time to buy. You can go back to my videos. They're on my YouTube channel. I was telling you this was a great area to buy. I was telling you that it wouldn't matter if you bought here, 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 or here in the future, because Bitcoin was going to be above $70,000, $90,000. We basically got there. But look, the naysayers. Oh, Bitcoin's dead. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what happened. Whoa! Okay, I thought Bitcoin was going to be dead over here, and we still went up here. And do you remember how many cycles we went through? And they looked super terrible or good, depending on whether you bought low and sold high, or you bought high and then you were forced to sell low. All this area is basically a flat position. You can even tell it wouldn't have mattered where you bought Bitcoin. You would have had great, amazing performance if you've held it and sold the tops, which is the best thing to do. Don't hodl indefinitely, okay? It's like sell the tops, buy the bottoms. And that's why it's important that we try to catch the bottom. Not like the day the bottom is established, but the area around the bottom. And that's what's happening over here. Okay, so look, basically Bitcoin had a top where we've been in the markdown phase. We're probably going into the accumulation phase. It's going to be around this area. We don't know exactly where, but in the future, I am sure that just as in the past cycles, the tops and the bottoms have flattened, and how this one, which looked huge in 2017, became irrelevant over here. In the future, something like that is going to happen. And this side is going to look like that. And we're going to have Bitcoin somewhere over here. I don't know exactly what price we're going to go. I'm going to go conservative with above $90,000. But Bitcoin could reach anywhere over here, and it's just going to make the past cycles look smaller and smaller and smaller, and this past cycle would have just been a blip in the rear view mirror. And that's how it had behaved. So my invitation to you is start buying Bitcoin, start dollar cost averaging in, and in 2 or 3 years you're going to have an amazing return on your investment today. And not only Bitcoin, you can also start buying some quality altcoins like Ethereum, Link, and others that are going to be part of my portfolio. But it's just a good time to start DCAing in. You can contact me and inquire about portfolio management and the funds we have for those people that don't have time, that do not have the time to manage their own portfolio. We do that for them. Of course, there's a small fee. So contact us for more information. Well, everybody, I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you on the next one.